Lately, I've been praying to God a lot to help turn me into the man that I need to become. Just get me one step closer each day to the man that He really wants me to be and needs me to be. And I've been doing this over the course of several months, and I've slowly seen little bits and pieces of like results and proof here and there. But recently, I've been reading my Bible, and just words kept just jumping out at me. And yeah, I started noticing over the course of a few weeks, like these same few words in multiple different passages just kept jumping out at me. So I found that pretty interesting, and I just wrote a few of them down here. But yeah, Proverbs 13:3. He that keepeth his mouth keepeth his life, but he that openeth wide his lips shall have destruction. Proverbs 18:21. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. Proverbs 21:23. Whoso keepeth his mouth and his tongue keepeth his soul from troubles. And then I also notice it elsewhere in Matthew 15:11. Not that which goeth into the mouth defileth a man, but that which cometh out of the mouth, this defileth a man. And there's many more passages that of scripture that I noticed that had these points in them. But yeah, what kept really jumping out at me was the importance of what you say. Right, as it said in Proverbs, whoso keepeth his mouth and his tongue keepeth his soul from troubles, or death and life are in the power of the tongue. Well, you speak words out of your mouth using your tongue. So I was like, okay, words must be pretty powerful, pretty significant. But I was like, you know what? Let me just dig a little bit deeper and look for a little bit more evidence. So I was thinking to myself, well, when people say certain words to you, they change your emotion or affect your emotion. So that shows how powerful words are. And I kept looking around for like a few more examples. And eventually I looked back at my Bible and I was like, well, this is the word. And this is pretty powerful because it's changing my mind and my actions each day. And then I was like, you know what? Let's just take this one step further. So I was like, you know what? Let's just go back to the beginning because I think in Genesis 1 it says something. There's got to be something there about words, right? If I can flip these pages. So I went to Genesis chapter 1 and I read it, and I noticed in verse 3 it starts off and it says, "And God said, let there be light, and there was light." I go down to verse 6 and it starts off with, "And God said." Verse 9, "And God said." Verse 14, "And God said." Verse 20, "And God said." Verse 24, "And God said." Verse 26, "And God said." Verse 29, "And God said." So in the beginning, because Genesis 1:1, this is when God was creating the universe and everything that we come to know and come to love. But it says before he was creating everything, "And God said," which clearly highlights the power of words, because if everything that we know was spoken into existence using words, using language, well, it's got to be pretty powerful, right? Because God created the universe with it. So I was like, okay, well, that's enough proof for me. But if that's not enough proof for some other people, back again in Genesis 1, starting off with verse 26, it says, "And God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth." Now this is the important part that I noticed in verse 27. So God created man in his own image. That's the part that I want you to focus on. So God created man in his own image. And I was like, that's pretty interesting. I've clearly seen how powerful words are, how impactful they are at like shaping your mind, creating the universe as God used them. So God used words in a pretty impactful and meaningful way, obviously to create everything. But then I read this and I was like, well, God made us in his own image, which means that as much as God had creative potential with words, we have creative potential with words. And now it's not to the same degree. Obviously, I can't speak the universe into existence and everything because I'm not God and I'm not claiming to be God. But yeah, obviously, there's some sort of creative potential that we have. So this got me thinking. Well, what words am I using each day? What am I telling myself? What am I saying to others? And I started to notice like patterns in my language in different situations or like with school, and I realized like, oh, this is pretty disadvantageous to me. Like the words that I'm using aren't helping me; they're hurting me, and um, yeah. So I started to dig into it a little bit more. I was like, okay, well, words are powerful and they have creative potential. Um, So I was like, well, what am I creating with my words? Well, I'm creating fear, I'm creating doubt, um, creating like anxiety, like loss of control, like all these different things that I'm saying are affecting my mindset and how I feel about myself and how I approach situations. So I started looking around and looking to change the words that I'm using, the words that I'm saying. So instead of saying like I have to do something or um, yeah, like instead of saying I have to do something, which kind of makes you feel powerless, I've started saying stuff like I'm choosing to do X, Y, Z. I'm choosing to do this because that gives me power over the situation. So for example, like for school, I can't choose the assignments that I have to do, but I can choose how I do them. So even though I don't have control over the full situation in some sense, like obviously I chose to go to school, um, but I don't have power or control over the assignment that I have to do, but I can take power and control over how I choose to do it. Um, and then also, instead of saying like I don't know, which I found myself saying a lot, which is kind of sucks the power out of you and makes you kind of helpless, right? Um, I started to say like I don't know yet, but I'll figure it out, or I'm not sure, but I'm working on it. Um, and yeah, you get the point. So really, I just want to highlight that after praying to God for quite some time and reading the scripture each day, which I think is really important and other people say is really important, and I truly believe that. Um, I've started to notice this one pattern, this one thing just kind of jumping out at me, screaming my name, and it's just words and the words that you use, how powerful they are. God gave us free will, and that free will that He gave us, we can use to control our words that come out of our mouth. So my challenge to you is look at your words. What's like one sentence that you say each day or frequently, one thing that you tell yourself, or a label that you put on yourself, um, and write it down and look at it and think, well, how can I change this? How can I make this so it empowers me? It gives me confidence instead of anxiety. You know, and if you really struggle with it, which a lot of people do, um, honestly, just go to ChatGPT and just put in, hey, like I want to change my words. I feel like they're stripping me of like my power, my confidence, and X, Y, Z, and I want to change how I use my language. So that's my challenge to you. I just want to share this real quick because I think this is pretty powerful, and I think that it can really change your life. And well, it's not going to change your life overnight. little bit by little bit over time, it will definitely have some impact. But yeah, just want to share that. So if you like the video, give it a thumbs up and click here to see what's next.